Good morning, everyone. My name is Kamogelo Malapela, and I'm here to talk on my journey on how I became successful in the APC December 2022 exam. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is how mindset is everything, right? So if you will it, you will achieve it. I just want to speak to the fact that, in my preparation, the the thing that I looked for was keeping a positive mindset, right? So I put like notes to reaffirm myself all the time. I created a folder where I put all um my research, and the folder's name was Past December 2022 APC exam. So I was very specific, I was very intentional because I knew that this is the exam that I'm going to write once and I'm going to make it. So what I'm trying to say is that in your preparation, please make sure that you do put those things for yourself, that you keep reaffirming yourself, and that you don't forget that this is the goal that you want to achieve, and this is what you're going to do to achieve it, right? So, another thing is that there's so many things that are going around. Like you look at the stats that, okay, previously only 24% have passed, or, when you look at the stats, the psycha stats, right? And I want to tell you that you need to block those things out because that's really not necessary. This is your journey. This is your exam. So you need to you need to keep on reaffirming yourself. So if you're going to look at the negatives, you're going to look at the fact that maybe you will not pass because of what has been happening in the past, then it's easy for you to not prepare yourself, right? So I just want to say that keep on reaffirming yourself, right? Um, Another thing, you made it this far. So that means you are truly capable. So forget what other people are going to be saying. Okay, then we move on to the pre-release information. The best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today, right? So if you prepare quite well, it's easy for you to actually make it, right? Because thorough preparation definitely guarantees you being successful in the exam, right? So the first the 5 days once you have received your pre-release information is quite critical. You need to plan in advance that, okay, on day one, when we receive the pre-release information, what am I doing? On day two, what am I doing? Day three, what am I doing? Day four, what am I doing? Day five, what am I doing? So I'll just tell you what I did, right? So on day one, I was a group leader in my group, right? We were a group of 7 when we started. I know it's a big number, but yes, I'll tell you the story. So we started with 7. I was the group leader. And another thing that pushed me in terms of preparation is that, I can't let myself down. I can't let my team down. I need to set an example. So that means show up each and every day prepared. Show up each and every day without making any excuses, right? Regardless of how I'm feeling. So that was me throughout the entire program, from the board course up until the actual exam. So I've been leading this team. But towards the end, writing the December exam, we were only 4. Why? Because of unforeseen circumstances. Did that bring me down? No, it didn't. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to keep on reaffirming yourself, right? Yeah. So first day, before the actual exam, we met with the group because I think I took 10 days of leave, right? So that's very important. The first 5 days of my leave, I was resting because I had already prepared throughout the year. I believe that I'm ready. So I rested, and then came pre-release information day. I had already told my group, okay, on day 1, we're doing this, on day 2, we're doing this, and these are the time allocated for whatever meeting that we'll be meeting on that day, right? So day 1, we meet at 8 with the pre-release information. We go through it, right? With the group, we identify triggers, and then we bounce off each other, right? To just confirm, okay, this trigger is what I have identified. Do you agree with it? Yes, you do. Then we move on. That's day 1. And then we're done by 10 o'clock. Then we start preparing. This is research, and there is no such thing as splitting tasks, right? We all did our own research, our own preparation, our own file, right? Because we don't want to go into an exam without knowing what probably trigger 5 is about, because someone did it for you and you just putting it in the file. So everyone had the responsibility of doing their own research. And then once we come together, we just supplement with what other people have done, right? So that was day 1. Day 2, we met again, but this time we met at 5 o'clock, right? For 2 hours, because that gave us enough time to, to get the research. And just, yeah. So that was day 2. We did 5 o'clock, we finished at 7. What are we doing? Now we are like adding on to the identification of the triggers, seeing what research has popped up, anything that is confusing that we might want to close out. That's the discussion that we had on the 2nd day. Then the 3rd day, we also met at 5. So this is just the last day where we are compiling our information, right? Gaining and understanding, discussing. Discussing is very important, because another thing, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so hearing from other people is like, it's going to help you supplement the information that you have already done. Then the last day that we met was on day 4. We met in the morning. Why? Because we want to give each other enough time to prepare our files and also make it personal, right? Another thing that I've realized is that if you are going to see a text for the first time, it's going to throw you off. So if in your file you can see your handwriting, trust me, it's like it's personal to you. So you have a deeper understanding of what's actually in the file. So my file was this thick. And for it to get to this point, it was because of obviously doing this thing many times and failing. I've been failing throughout. I only passed the sub. And then after that, yeah. So it's because I was listening to many people saying, okay, you need to split tasks because there's not enough time, or you need to, it was a lot of things, taking too many advices. But I sat down, I'm like, no, this is not working for me. This is how I'm going to approach it. That's why I chose to do my own research, then supplement whatever information I get from my team members, right? Okay, so then by the last day, I had created summaries. The industry research, I summarized it onto 1 page. That means that I actually understand what the industry entails, right? Just the page, an A4 page, right? That means I'm understanding what's going on. I'm able to make it into my own words. It's nothing new. I know. The triggers also summarized into 1 page. So by the time I go into the exam, literally my file is small, because why? I've summarized, everything is personal, everything is my work, right? So after that, yeah, so that's my file. That's a pre-release information. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, sorry. Sticking to the plan. So you would have prepared in advance, right? With your group, that we are going to meet on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Stick to those plans and the allocated time. Otherwise, you'll be wasting time. And it's not about debating. It's really about supplementing the information that you already have done. So it's not there to, okay, you are right, no, it's not about that. We are there to have a discussion that is straight to the point, and we get what we need and go out, because we need to work. There's only 4 days of preparation. So you don't want to waste too much time having discussions that are not effective, right? So yeah, I think that's all on this, the pre-release information. But like I said, the issue is not really you identifying or you coming as a group to identify triggers, because you've done that throughout. It's how you move from the pre-release information to the information on the day and actually applying it to the required tasks. That's what I've seen. Most people are good at doing research, but are you good at applying what you have researched? That's the question mark. Information on the day. So when I open my file, the first thing that I see is the plan of action, right? That's the first thing I see. Oh, well, after the past APC December 2022 exam, I'll put it everywhere, literally next to my name, next to my notes. It's there everywhere in my room. Every time I wake up, I see that because I'm reaffirming that I can do it. I don't want to hear anything else about, okay, you can't do it. No, I want to know I can do it. So I had to tell myself this, because another thing I've realized about this exam, it's long. You can't sit for 8 hours and not being discouraged. So you need something that's going to keep on telling you that, you know what, you can do it. Because you're going to get curveballs, you're going to get challenges, and it's going to be weird. So you need something to keep telling you, you can do it. So if you don't do that to yourself, you're going to struggle. By the time it's 5 hours into the exam, you're going to give up. So that's why I'm saying the mindset is very critical. It's crucial. Forget that you've done it 4 times, 7 times. It really doesn't matter. What matters is what you do today, right? So yeah, plan of action. First thing that I see when I open my file, the steps, big and bold, in my own handwriting again. It was not something that I typed. I wrote it down because why? Familiarity. This is my handwriting. This is my own work, right? Step 1, get the pre-release information. What I do, I read it the first time, right? I am just reading. I'm not trying to get anything out of it. I'm just trying to get a broad overview of what they're talking about today, right? That's what I'm doing. Second time I read the scenario, this time I look for issues. So this is when I go in with my pen, my highlighter, right? Document A, what is the issue? Right? Issue number 1, issue number 2, issue number 3, issue number 4. Like, that's what I do in all the documents. The second time I read it. Then the third time I read it, this is when I understand how the pre-release information has changed to the information on the day. Another thing that has been, I think, an issue for me is that I'll take the information on the day in isolation, right? Which is what shows the marker that you are not really applying, or there isn't coverage, or there isn't context to what the solutions that you're providing. So you need to use the information on the day and supplement or reference to the pre-release information, because this is what you were doing in the previous days of preparation to that exam, right? So you are not just looking at the information on the day. So hence why I'm saying you have to create yourself a diagram where you see, okay, this is the issues on the information on the day, and this is how they have changed to my triggers that I've identified in the pre-release information, right? And then the next thing that I do, I would list down the expectations to be covered. And obviously this aligns to what is in the information on the day and the issues I've identified in step 4, in step 3. Then I just remind myself again that I need to cover everything. Think of the audience, think of the formatting, and think of am I addressing all the issues, right? And then again, I'll say, pass the exam, you can do it. I don't know how many, I went through my file last night and I was like, I wrote this thing so many times, like, pass the exam, you can do it, pass. And I was very specific. I didn't say pass APC. I was like, pass APC December 2022, because I just wanted to do it once and get it over and done with. So yeah, very specific, very intentional about my studying, my preparation, and obviously being successful in the exam. Yeah, then the next thing would be once you receive your tasks, right? In the tasks, it's just a list of what they expect you to do, but you would have already seen it once you're going through your information on the day, because it does show you, okay, this is the issues, this is who you are talking to, this is who you need to respond to, right? So, but it summarizes it in the tasks. So by the time you actually get the tasks, you are already prepared. You actually have a plan. So people will say, why do you take so much time to plan? I took an hour before I actually put anything down. It worked for me. I don't know if it can work for others. But for me, it worked because I realized that I'm a very structured person. I need to see the structure before I do anything. As soon as I started being confused and dabbling over the task, that's when I lost it. So I knew task A, before I wrote, I knew task A, this is who I'm talking to. I made a small line. I had like snippets of papers in my file where I would write down like my plan before I actually write. So task A, this is the tone that I'm going to use. This is who I'm addressing. This is what they are required for me, because obviously I have identified the issues. I've also identified how the information has changed from the release information. So I just like now put in the bulk of the information once I start writing. So before I wrote, I knew what was expected of me by the time 10 o'clock hit, right? So I took an hour, not opening up my laptop. You'd see people, I'm just like, no, focus. This is your own exam. This is your own journey. So that's another thing. It's a big room and you'll feed off people's energy. So you need to tell yourself, well, this is my exam. This is my journey, right? So you don't need to be looking at what the next person is doing, the person in front is doing. If they are taking a 2-hour break, it's really not your business. You just need to focus on what you're doing. So for me, I just put on like the oorklap. I don't know what they call them in English. Yes. And I wrote that exam and that was it. I remember I didn't even stand up to go to the bathroom. Why? Because I forgot my water bottle. If I had my water bottle, I would have. But I was like, you know what? Forget that. I'm just gonna write dehydrated or not. You know, people are there with 2-liter bottles. I'm just like, yo, if only I could get a sip. But I kept, and I had fruit. I'm like, it's by the time I left, there was nothing that I ate. I was like, guys, what's going on? And when I stood up, I felt that no, this was a lot. I didn't eat for 8 hours. I didn't drink water. So I was going through a lot. So obviously after that, I don't recommend that. Have snacks, eat in between. But also, I think the eating in between is just to calm you down. You need to breathe while you're writing because, yeah, it gets tough. It really does. Yeah, so I think that's what, oh yeah, time is very important. Another thing that was what I saw was an issue for me, right? I did say that I would take the easy task, do the difficult task last. It didn't work for me. So I'll start from task A up until the last task. I wouldn't say no because task A is difficult. No, I wouldn't do that because once I did that, it showed that I didn't know what I was doing. So thorough preparation beforehand was what helped me to be successful on the day, right? So I'd start with task A. With the time allocated to it, I'd finish it. If I don't finish it, move on to the next. As long as there's a conclusion, then I move on to the next. Because if now I try to fight to get an 8C in task A because it's easy, I'm going to be taking time from task F, which is quite difficult. You understand? So I had to stick to the time allocated. And according to my plan, it's there for a reason. Plan of action. If I don't stick to that, I'm going to lose it, right? So for me, it was about structuring my responses, structuring my time, structuring everything that I was doing. Otherwise, I was going to be confused halfway through that exam. It's 8 hours, guys. It's very long, you know? So yeah, I think the time really depends on obviously the tasks, what is required, and how many tasks you actually have. You might find that sometimes you have 7 tasks, sometimes it's 9. So I don't know now, but I know in this one there was 7, right? So that means I'm not going to allocate 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. It depends on, okay, how much do I need to put in that task? But there's some that only required 30 minutes of my time. There's some that required 1 hour, 30 minutes. Because, they differ and the expectations differ. So, yeah. Then the next thing we are going to be discussing is the expectation table. So this is really what I did, right? Because before I wasn't able to get the actual moving from a BC to a C. I struggled because why? there's certain things that I was missing from the coverage, context, and the technical. So what I did was I sat down, looked at all the assessments that we've been doing throughout the year, right? I then went, read, because we had already done the assessments. So I had already done the preparations, right? I sat down with all of that, the suggested solution and the expectation table. I'd redo the triggers, because this is after me passing the SAP and me writing the final exam. So I'd go through all 6 of them, have summarized what's this pre-list information, summarized triggers, summarized everything, and then go to the expectation table, plan of action. I did it. So I did it as if I'm going to write the exam, but obviously I won't spend 8 hours doing one thing because I had already done it. So I just go and then I do, okay, this is what is expected from you. Then I mark myself against the expectation table. So after a certain time, I realized, okay, Kamu, this is your problem. You're not saying enough. You're not linking to the pre-release information. And that's how I identified my issues. So I'd encourage you to go back and see what you have done previously. What was your issue, right? So sometimes it's not, sometimes it is the fact that you're not doing enough research. Sometimes it's just you being unable to apply on the day or addressing those tasks. So that's what I did. And that's how, by the time I actually wrote the exam, I was thoroughly prepared. So the expectation table is very important because this is what they mark you on. So coverage, this is you addressing all expectations. Have you covered all the issues you have identified? So obviously, this is what you do in step 2 of the plan of action. So you go through your information on the day, and then you identify the issues. So you list them down for, okay, there are 4 issues in document A. Once you respond to the task, have you responded to all the issues that you have identified? That's the first question you ask yourself every time you respond to a task. Context, are you applying to the information on the day, making reference to the pre-released information, right? Application to your audience. Are you responding to a CFO? Are you responding to a financial manager? Are you responding to a research development something, right? Who are you responding to? Application to the industry. Another thing, right? The reason why I say you need to summarize the information on the industry research is that you make it personal to you. It's familiar to you. So every time you see an issue or a problem, you are able to respond by saying, okay, no, this company has this specific problem. This is what the industry is experiencing. So you're able to solve that problem using the company's problems and also what is happening in the market, right? So application to the industry is very important as well because it shows the marker that you actually understand what's going on. You are part of this company. You are not isolated. You're not isolated from what's happening outside because you are in the shoes of whoever that role, the newly qualified accountant, right? Yeah. And then you are there to solve the problem. They come to you and they ask you the question because they believe that you can solve the problem. So if you don't address the problem solving part to this task, then it's impossible for you to show that you're actually competent. So that's the one thing that I've seen, that you need to respond, you need to address, or you need to solve the problem. Lastly, technical. This is technical, obviously, accounting, tax, auditing, in. This is answering the what, why, how, and linking to the audience. You can't mention, I don't know, paragraph references to a CFO. That's not what they're interested in. But I know someone, yeah, they're not interested in knowing what paragraph B of what is. They're literally interested in you solving the actual problem. You can make reference to it, but that should not be the bulk of your response to the information. So I think that, yeah, that is technical. Lastly, again, past 2023 APC December, right? So I don't know what you will put to motivate you to actually be successful in this exam, but this is what worked for me. I had to see it every time. And when I went to write the exam, I told my mom, well, you know what, I'm packing my books. I'm never going to open them again because I knew that I have done the best that I could. So when I left, I saw no standard near me. There was no text legis. There was no auditing. No, there was nothing. I went there with just my file because I'm thoroughly prepared and I'm not going to come back here and write this exam again. So that's what worked for me. And I don't know what could work for you, but this is just my story and how I became successful in the exam. So I just want to share also, I forgot now. The yeah. So I got this from a colleague of mine who, well, was also asking me how I was successful in, like, what did I do? What helped me on the information on on the day of writing the actual exam, right? And I said, plan of action. So this is what they managed to come up with. This is their expectation table and how they will respond to the tasks, right? So you can see, this is her planning. See. Okay. So this was their plan of action. And I said to them, this is what they need to put on the, this is what they need to put in their file, right? So as you can see, this is point 1. And they even have colors to color coordinate. So you can see audience, there's an audience format, tone, industry research, competitors, and other disciplines, and or experts. So this is how they remind themselves that, okay, I need to make reference to these things. Coverage. What is the expectation in a simplified manner? What are the required questions? What is the issue today? Introduction required with the attachment. So that would probably be the question on the day. They'd say, please attach a document to an email, right? So then they have 4 points there. Then context, it would be in green. What is continuing from the pre-release information and what is new and twist on the information on the day. So then they'll put on their points there. Then technical, body or summary, this is what they said. Answer the what, why, how, and where. So this is what they managed to come up with. And they're saying ever since they use this method, they were able to they're more relaxed when it comes to answering the task on the day. So I'm just saying there is someone who it's working for. Maybe this also works for you. Maybe you're not a planner as I am. You just, I don't know. But this definitely does work to some extent. Proper planning. And obviously, guys, do not split tasks. Do not split tasks. And these hacks that keep coming on the last day, when have you done research? When have you understood the information, right? So if you are able to absorb information that quick, good for you. But for me, I wasn't able to. So hence why I said I needed to make sure that I did thorough research on the day, on my 5 days, right? So I think that's all from my side. Are there any questions? Yes.
To repeat the question. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. So I just wanted to ask, how do you deal with the situation when you're looking at the information survey, you are not able to synthesize what is being required? you can see that there is a point, there is a point, there is a point. But maybe you are struggling on how to put it, then put a statement, you need to start with a review. You start to think, how am I going to put this so that I get an influence?
How, so that you get a what? Sorry. An indicator. Okay. So like, oh yes, sorry. The question was, how do you, how are you able to look at the information on the day and then identify the issues and then come up with a response? Is that what?
Just to understand. What was that we did? How we did it. Now you try to. So what I'm just like, some often I'm struggling to only to start.
Okay, so with that one, it was task A, ne? Remember in your pre-release information, there was a trigger that spoke to what's this, consolidation journal entries. It was there. So in your preparation, that meant that you had to go and get journals, literal journals. So once you get the information on the day that gives you journals, you then review. Is this correct? Is this incorrect? What is supposed to improve? Is that fine? Yeah. So for me, if you are able to identify the triggers correctly, that will help you on the information on the day. That's why I'm saying the third time you read the scenario, you are seeing how the issues have changed and how the information on the day how the pre-release information has changed to what you see in the to the information on the day, right? So in the triggers, pre-release information, there was journals that had to do with the consolidation. Then task A spoke to you having to review journals that were prepared by someone. So you are going to be able to review because what you have prepared your file that speaks to what journal entries.
So it's you.
Am I answering your question?
Yes. So can we say if you are finding yourself in that difficult situation, it means you have not done enough
Thorough preparation, exactly.
the data so that when somebody sends you,
Yes, yes, definitely. So the question was, if you are in that situation, does that mean you have not thoroughly prepared? And the answer is yes, because the triggers that you identify are not necessarily closed off, right? It can be journal entries, but it can also lead to I'll just say valuations, right? Because they're speaking of acquiring a company. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're gonna look at a trigger, don't just address one discipline. Address all of them. So if you get a task or an information on the day that has a different issues, maybe it speaks to text now. You're not confused as to, okay, I only prepared for accounting. How do I now address consolidation in a text perspective? Do you understand what I'm saying? So once you get triggers, address all disciplines. Address the financial management, address the cost management, address the auditing, address the tax, address the accounting. Right? Unless it's specific to APC. But I haven't seen, let me not lie. Just make sure that you cover everything. Yeah. Any other question? Is the word expectation table there? Hi, Pamela. I'm not sure I understand the question. If you can just raise your hand and speak as to what you're asking. Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
share it. And scroll up, I think it's to scroll up, but you can share the document.
this one, the Word document.
One of them is, did you create the expectation table in detail based on the IOD before you start responding to tasks?
So the question is, did I create the expectation in detail?
Did you create the expectation table in detail before you start?
Before I started responding on the task. Detail, it depends, right? For instance, like I said, I had a plan of action, right? If I identified issues, I know there's 4 issues that I need to address. Am I addressing context, right? Am I responding to the application, right, of the industry and the company itself? So the detail is not that I am putting down actual sentences in my plan. It is just to remind myself that, okay, I need to address 4 issues. I need to address the context. I need to address coverage. I need to address the technical aspect of it, right? So hence I'm saying there was a what, the why, the where, and what is changing, right? So in detail, not that much detail because there isn't much time. I have to plan for how many ever tasks. So it was not that detailed. The detail you'll see in my actual response. This is where I'll put my responses. Okay. The question is, please give examples of how you would communicate with a CA versus an engineer. An engineer does not know accounting. A CA knows accounting, right? With the CA, if you make reference to a standard or you make reference to a certain definition, they are able to understand what you're talking about. Whereas with an engineer, you can't say an asset is a what. You need to make it as simple as possible. You need to make it like you're speaking to a grade 2, right? Because this is not what their experience is. They only know engineering. But again, you need to apply it in a way that they understand, because what probably the industry is engineering and infrastructure. So that's what I'm saying, to show the marker that you are able to understand the industry, you're able to understand the company, you apply in the context in which you exist. So if you are responding to engineers, take that as your audience. If you're speaking to CAs understand what an asset is. So you can just say it's an asset. They know what an asset is. So I think that's the difference between the two. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Feel free, guys.
Hi.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm Courage. I didn't get your name, but I just want to ask, I joined lately, on the day approach. If I heard you correctly, you said you'd read the IOD like 3 times when you're noting down issues that you would then compare with the PRI so that you
Yes.
note the changes. With regards to that, in terms of timing, are you a fast reader, if I may say? Just to
I'm
ask.
not I don't know if I'm a fast reader or not. But this happened for me to get to that point. I went through all of my attempts, right? All of my attempts, right? So I started doing this way before the actual exam. So now I know you have 3 weeks before you actually write the exam, right? So you can sit with 3 or 4 past papers that you actually did and see if you are not a fast reader or not. You understand what I'm saying? You won't do it in the exam. You need to practice doing that. So that's all I can say. I don't know if I'm a fast reader or not, but I know that reading the scenario 3 times helped me a lot, because you will miss stuff because you're going through it quite fast and you think there isn't time. There is time if you plan.
Well, that's very clear. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I think that's all. That's enough from my side. I've taken too much of your time. I want to thank Abasa and Ejunamo for giving me this opportunity. I'm truly grateful. Thank you.